Mr. President, I rise today to speak about the repercussions of the Supreme Court's misguided Hobby Lobby decision, which allows employers to refuse to cover contraception as a part of their employees' health plans under the false premise that corporations can not only have religious beliefs, that they can impose those beliefs on their employees. Several days ago, while I was home in the great state of Colorado, I stood shoulder to shoulder with experts in women's health care who joined me to highlight how the Hobby Lobby decision is already negatively affecting women in our state. One Denver-based OB/GYN explained how physicians might now have to consider an employer's religious beliefs when making medical recommendations. She said the court's decision fundamentally interferes with health care decisions that should be based solely on a patient's well-being. Because of the Supreme Court's 5-4 decision, women across America are now facing the uncertainty that their bosses may restrict the health care benefits that federal law currently secures for them. Birth control has been deemed an essential preventative health service by a nonpartisan, independent group of doctors and other medical experts. 99%, Mr. President, 99% of American women have used birth control at some point in their lives, and they use it for a variety of health reasons. In fact, just hours after Senator Murray and I introduced legislation in response to the Hobby Lobby decision, a Colorado mother called my office to share the story of how her college-aged daughter was suffering from a health condition that was so debilitating that it kept her from attending class or really participating in any activities at school. As a result, her doctor prescribed a form of birth control that ended up managing her symptoms and getting her back on track. This Colorado mother wanted to make sure I knew that access to contraception isn't just about birth control. And if her employer took away the contraceptive coverage in her family's health plan, her doctor wouldn't have had coverage for a medically necessary treatment. Mr. President, regardless of why women take birth control, none of those reasons have any connection to how they do their jobs, and their bosses have no business interfering in those decisions. But with the court's ruling in Hobby Lobby, corporations and CEOs have been handed the right to play the role of gatekeeper for what kind of health care employees and their families can access as a part of their health insurance plan. That's not acceptable to Coloradans. I've heard the arguments from those who say that the Supreme Court's decision narrowly protects religious freedom. And I think we can all agree that where religious freedoms are being threatened, we as Americans have a duty to act swiftly to address it. But the fact is that actual religious institutions are already exempt from requirements that run contrary to their beliefs. Remember, the men and women who went to work for Hobby Lobby signed up to work at a craft store, not a religious organization. This decision, in the words of Justice Ginsburg, is one of startling breadth. In the Hobby Lobby majority opinion, the Supreme Court said its decision only applied to closely held corporations. But up to 90% of American companies are considered closely held, and over half of Americans work for a closely held company. To call this decision narrow is as wrong as the reasoning behind it. And contrary to what supporters of the decision are saying, this just isn't about contraceptives. We've been warned by legal experts, including Justice Ginsburg and the 3 other justices who joined in her dissent, that this decision could lead to employers discriminating against women, minority groups, and others because a company's owner may object to any number of medications or procedures, such as vaccinations or HIV treatment. Just over 2 short weeks ago, before the Hobby Lobby decision, workers knew exactly what health services they had access to under their health plans. They didn't need to be labor lawyers to figure out what benefits they would receive, which benefits they might be at risk of losing, or how much more they would have to pay out of pocket for prescription drugs or other critical health treatments. However, with the Hobby Lobby case, that's all changed. Supporters of the Hobby Lobby decision want women to believe that this isn't a big deal. But let me be clear. This has the potential to change health coverage for millions of women. And I'm not, along with millions of Americans, going to stand for this kind of discrimination. I trust women to make their own health care decisions, and I don't believe their employers should have a say in them. Through their hard work and insurance premiums, women have earned and already paid for coverage that includes copay-free contraception under federal law. Health insurance is a part of their compensation packages. There's nothing free about it. They've earned it. And not only does this case wedge bosses into private health care decisions, it unfairly burdens hardworking women, ignoring the fact that contraception can be crucial to women and families' economic success. The ability to decide when, how, and with whom to have a family is critical to the health and economic security of women and their families. The Supreme Court even stated this in its opinion in Planned Parenthood versus Casey in 1992. And I want to quote, Mr. President, the Supreme Court from 1992. The ability of women to participate equally in the economic and social life of the nation has been facilitated by their ability to control their reproductive lives. That's what the court said in 1992. So today, many employees are left wondering if that economic freedom is in jeopardy, and women are left to ask their bosses whether they will continue to cover their birth control, a topic of conversation that women should never be forced to bring up at work. An issue that is certainly not a boss's business. Throughout my time in Congress, I've long believed that we all have the fundamental right to live our lives the way we choose, free from needless intrusion, whether by the government, by bureaucrats, or by corporations and CEOs, and certainly free from intrusion by politicians. Indeed, a woman should be free to make her own health decisions based on what's right for her and her family, not according to her employer's religious beliefs. So the reason I'm standing here today is to make very clear that this type of intrusion will not stand. I'm proud to lead the effort with Senator Murray to ensure employers cannot refuse to cover health services guaranteed to women under federal law. Our bill, the Protect Women's Health from Corporate Interference Act, would restore a woman's power to make personal health care decisions based on what's best for her and her family, free from corporate interference. I invite my colleagues of both parties to join this effort. And I thank my colleagues who will stand with Senator Murray and me this week to say women's health care is not your boss's business. Mr. President, thank you. I yield the floor.